guys, my name is Sub-Zero-Exabyte and I am having a fantastic day. And I hope you guys are having a fantastic day as well, and if not yet, hope you are going to have a fantastic day. But I think I know a certain way how I can make your day fantastic, and that is what we are going to do right now. Because we are going to do some trolling today, but not just a normal troll video. No, today we are the famous scary Momo, so everyone that will get trolled today will also be scared. Ha ha ha, evil. Let's get right to it. We will join public server to find some noobs and troll them. Maybe we will do some mini games. Let's see. Not concern the people that even live somewhere there, because the people that would live there would probably have a smelly pants after you tell them this story happened in their town. So we are not going to name any towns so we don't concern the people that might live there, even though it is a relevantly small town. But I do not want to get in any trouble or anything, so I am not going to take the risk of saying something about a town with angry people. So here we go. Bob the Banger. You better be ready. I talked a bit off this minute, so you could have gotten your popcorn and lay back in your chair or in your bed or wherever you are. Bob the hot darn anger. The year once again was the beginning of the 21st century, and it was in a town that is going to be unnamed for reasons to not frighten the residents from that town. Bob was a friendly geezer growing up, and pretty much all of the residents knew little Bob. But as Bob got older, he did not necessarily get any wiser, but he got a little bit fudged up in his head. On a night when Bob was in his bedroom, his parents had a little fight. And this was not new for Bob because his parents had a bit of a poopy marriage, but they did not want to get divorced because they might harm Bob's future with getting divorced. But they harmed his head just more with doing what they were doing, and what they were doing was not getting divorced, but almost every night that they were sitting at the television they would begin to have a little word with each other. Nothing big, but just a disagreement, but then either his mother or his father would say something and then all hell broke loose. And Bob started to see it coming, and when he first saw it coming he said something about it and that he did not like the way that his parents got along with each other, but they just sent Bob to his room. And Bob would get sad in his room, because he wanted to see his parents happy just like any other parents from the kids that he went to school with. But something around 3 years later, the time was ripe and it escalated so heavily with his parents that there was no way that they could live with the three of them anymore in that same house together. So Bob was a bit sick in his head from all that was happening at school, and also his situation at home, and his parents were to blame that it got this far. But Bob was on a normal day at school, and some of his friends were acting tough that they had a pistol at home. And Bob thought, hot darn, a pistol, that is pretty darn cool, even though if I say so myself. But if I had that and just threatened the situation at home, then maybe my parents would get along a bit better and I would save their marriage. But that was not how it worked, and neither did Bob get his hands on a gun, because with the age of 13 you cannot get your hands on a gun, or you have to know some pretty sketchy people. But Bob did not know any sketchy people, so he was there once again standing alone for himself. And Bob always thought that his mom had pretty cool spoons when she was cooking, and his uncle was a butcher, and he always thought that that was the coolest thing that ever existed. And he liked those spoons that butchers use for soup, the one that is called a butcher spoon. So he went to his uncle and he said that his mom needed a butcher spoon for cooking reasons. But what his uncle Billy did not yet know that his mom was not even home, but she was sleeping at a hotel at the time. But Bob told the story because he knew that his uncle Billy would not know that his mom was there, because his parents would not really talk about their problems, but instead they would just keep it a secret to themselves. And Bob knew as well, and he wanted it to end because he did not like the way that it was heading towards. But Bob hid the spoon under his shirt, and he would tuck the spoon in between his leg and the part where the belt from pants are, and it was nice and clean on that place. But he got home, and his mom was not home, so there was no fight at home. But his dad had a bit too much to drink, and Bob did not like that because he was acting strange for some reason. But Bob did once again not really care, and he just headed to his bedroom and he put the spoon under his pillow just in case any burglars came in, because he was really afraid for burglars. So he went to bed, and in the morning somehow his mom made him breakfast, and the two of them were acting happy. And that never happened. Well, not that Bob could remember, but his mom and his dad were both just just happy, and that was nice for a change. But Bob did not yet know why they were happy. But just casually his mom was making little Bob some cereal and she just said it. She said that she and his dad were getting a divorce. Well, Bob did not really know that it was going to be a pretty huge deal for him, but he did know that it was not a really good sign to get a divorce. But he did not really care. But his mom still needed a place to sleep, and his dad was still paying all of the rent by himself, and he would claim the bedroom that the two had shared all those years. So, his mom had to sleep in the garage where there was an attic and there was a nicely built guest room, and it was pretty much on the other side of where his father would sleep, so that was good because they then did not get into a fight. Well, that is at least what they thought, because that is just what happened. They got into a fight, and our poor Bob went mad, and he got down from his bedroom holding a spoon, and he headed down really mad, and he headed down to his bathroom that was for some reason on the same floor that the living room and the kitchen and all of it was. But what he saw there was just unhuman, because his mother had a screwdriver in her hands and his father was laying on the floor with a lot of blood around him, and he assumed that his mom had killed him. But that was not the case. Well, at least his mom told him that another guy that she talked with had killed him, and he just left the scene the same minute that she and Bob were standing there. And he knew that his mother would never even get the thought in her head to kill his father. So, he knew that some other dude had done that, and he was sure that he would get revenge. He did not yet know how, but he was sure of that he would get revenge of that guy, because no one would just take something that close away from Bob. Bob was furious, but he could not do anything, and that is what made him even more furious, because he had no control over the situation. But the police showed up and they explained to the coppers what happened, because a murder does not really happen that often, so they had to explain what happened. But the sheriff of the town knew his mom, and his mom was a bit of a pretty woman, so the sheriff had a little eye on her and he knew her pretty well. So, he believed that it was true what happened, and they said that they would do anything to catch the murderer, and they knew who the murdered was because it was a friend of his mother and his name was Timmy. And the police always knew that Timmy was not really 100% correct because he was doing some shady stuff for the couple 2 years, but they knew that it could be Timmy that murdered someone because Timmy was always acting weird. He had this long posture and he had a really thick beard. He would always walk around in cargo shorts and he would always wear the same white t-shirt. He had some old sneakers, and those sneakers looked like they just had been abused. They were old and dusty. They once were white, but if you saw them in person they were not white, but they weren't even gray anymore. It was just a really dark shade of gray. It was almost black, but that was all because of the dirt that would get on and under his shoe. But the police had a discretion of Timmy, and they informed the other nearby cities that if they saw a person with a beard and looked like that description, that they immediately called the sheriff, and the sheriff would personally get over there and undertake action. But they did not hear anything for a couple of weeks, but then the person that matched the description was found walking on the highway, and that he looked confused. It was 3 a.m. at night, so if a person was walking on a highway by the time there was something not right, and it would also not be safe because, well, cars maybe see you too late and then you are just chilling there in a car's windshield. But I don't think you would really feel good when chilling in a windshield of a car, or under a car, because on a highway people normally drive pretty darn fast. And if you get your body hit by a car with those speeds, then trust me that you are not going to survive that. Or if you are very lucky, then you might get away with some severe wounds on your entire body. But if Bob heard that the sheriff would leave the station, then he would get onto his walkie-talkie and listening with the police station and the sheriff what they had to say. And they said that a person that matched the description of a lost Timmy. And Bob did not think twice about going to sleep and just wait it out if the sheriff would catch him. So, called the nearest taxi with some stolen money that he had stashed up and would never buy anything with just for this moment. And he called a taxi that was near him, so the taxi would be there in a minute. And the taxi arrived, and Bob said precisely where the taxi must go to, and that the taxi would not have to think about hitting the brakes because he would pay extra if they got there in under 20 minutes. And they got there in about 15 minutes, but there was no sign yet of Timmy the walking highwayman. But he did not give up, and he would also walk on the highway. But Bob was smarter than Timmy because he would just walk next to the highway because he did not want to get run over. And it worked because he saw a passed out body next to the highway near a gas station, and Bob ran over there and looked the disturbed Timmy right in his soul. And he could just tell that it was him that murdered his father with a screwdriver because his eyes looked afraid of a kid that was just 13 years old. But what Timmy did not yet know was that Bob was carrying a spoon with him. and he was not afraid to use it because he was still furious about what happened 5 weeks ago. At that time, Timmy was still not on the same world that Bob was on, because of the things that Timmy was using. But Bob pushed him into the bushes that were near the gas station, and he covered his mouth with his little hands, but the hands were big enough to cover his entire mouth. And because Timmy did not make up a fight, it was an easy peasy job for Bob, and Bob had stabbed Timmy to death. But he did not stop there, because the only thing he saw was black in front of his eyes, and he stopped until he realized that Timmy was actually deaf and that he got his revenge. He was not concerned about anyone finding the body, because it was a pretty well, maybe there will be a real treasure here. It might attract more customers. Who knows, maybe I will place down a real treasure here and more people would be interested to come down here and check it out. Then I will have more loot thanks to those people, and then I can build my empire. I could also maybe make a mine next to this pyramid, so people that mine later come across this pyramid, and then they will be stacked with cobblestone and maybe some diamonds and iron or coal, which is also just fine, or some emeralds and things like that would be really nice. And then that is no longer theirs when they enter the pyramid. If you walk down the stairs of the pyramid, then your loot is automatically mine. I'm sorry about that, but you have to do what you do for your money, my friend. But finally, I placed down some torches, and now all of you at home can also see what is down here. And here is what I meant by that. I really hate gravel. Like, can you see why I hate gravel? Well, it is pretty obvious, but most of them don't do that, which is great sense, otherwise the golems would die faster. And I can't see George anymore, so I guess we have lost a man, and I don't remember, but I believe that there is one, or gone. I think it is Sandstone Gary. Oh no, he was one of my favorites and now he is gone. That is so sad. So, we're just going to watch which golem is going to stay the longest in the arena, and that golem is going to win, I guess. But I kind of have enough of these creepers, and as I am not an iron golem, I can still kill the creepers with a diamond sword, and this sword is even more amazing than just throwing your enemies into the air like it is nothing. But the creepers all looked so confused when I came at them, but I guess that is what happens when you are a creeper. A lot of surprises. So we are just chilling with the iron golems right now, and I believe the two have died then, but I don't see Bookshelf Gary anymore, so he is gone as well. But now we have a replacement, and that is Bedrock Gary, and we don't need any other Garys anymore since Bedrock Gary is the most tough Gary that you can think of. So now all of the golems can go away, and I think that Bedrock Gary is kind of enjoying this. As I am wiping out his contestants, I don't think he ever liked all of these different Garys. So Gary is going to stay Gary, but now Light Blue Gary is gone as well, so now we only have got Bedrock Gary left, and he is just really tough, so that is fantastic. But we also have Golden Gary, also known as the big brother of Original Gary, Iron Golem Gary, but now it is just Bedrock Gary and me, and he kind of has camouflage. So he is hiding in the corner and now no one can see him anymore, so that is just fantastic. But he has this thing in his eyes which is kind of scary. But right now that doesn't really matter, since we have got a lot of new golems. So we are going to give Gary some new friends that he kind of deserves, to be honest. So we have got a couple of them already in here, and I think that they just look absolutely stunning. We have got TNT Gary, so he is basically a big creeper with a lot of armor. Well, Gary, which is not a great one, I suppose. Lapis Lazuli Gary, which is just a darker version of Diamond Gary. Then we have got Hardened Clay Gary in here, which is not Gary but he is just clay, which is a name I believe. Then we also have got Red Gary in her end. I think that redstone would look fantastic on a Gary. We also have an Ice Cold Gary which is built out of ice. We still have got Bedrock Gary. And now we also have a Dyed Glass Gary, which if he is not asleep then he is going to look fantastic. We forgot SpongeBob Gary, but that doesn't really matter for right now though, because we are going to place the heads on the golems, and we are just going to see what all of them look like when they are done. And as I already said, some of them are just the exact description that I give them. But well, Gary is looking really cute with his little vest. But Coal Gary is kind of a scary Gary. I believe the red of his eyes just looks really scary with his coal. But I mean, we have got Ice Gary in her who is just looking fantastic, and Glass Gary is just a dark glass one, and he is the creepiest of them all. So, we have got TNT Gary in her, which is basically a creeper, and we have got Dark Glass Gary, which is also a creepy guy, but then in a different kind of style of creepy. But right now we are going to focus more on the things that matter, and kind of the only thing that matters right now is seeing skeletons flying through the air and they are putting up quite a fight. I believe that Gary is already dead with his cute vest. There are even more dead. TNT Gary is dead and I don't even remember which other Garys we had, but they are dead as well. And now we just have got Bedrock Gary in here, and I think Bedrock Gary actually likes Lapis Lazuli Gary, so that is just fantastic that he has found a friend right now. And they seem to be amusing themselves with throwing even more skeletons in the air, and I think that they have been built for this. But don't be afraid. Well, I know you are not afraid, but I will be back with a new video very soon.